And boom! Welcome back, everybody. Omniverse Comics Guide. We are your guys in the guide. Dave. He's Dave. I'm Eric.
Hello. I am the Dave. He is the Eric.
How you doing, buddy?
Marvelous, thank you, dude. Marvelous. Got a new Omni today, so.
What did you get? What'd you get? Well, tell us in the speakeasy. Tell us. Don't show me. All right. I know what it is.
Do you?
I'm waiting for mine in the mail. Again.
Sorry.
It's coming though. It's coming. No. That's okay. That's okay. I want you to talk about it. For those that are watching on Twitch, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, that like button. Tell your friends, tell your family. Come to the Omniverse and hang out with us every Wednesday.
Yeah.
10 o'clock in the UK, 10:30 in the UK.
Yes, 10:30 UK. And other times all around the world.
All around the world. If you're on the Eastern Standard Time of North America, it would be 5:30 p.m. Right around dinner time.
Yeah.
Pop us on your phone.
What's the West Coast? Is that Western Standard Time, or do they call it something else?
Don't know. I don't know why I don't know right now.
If you know what it is, say it in the chat.
Pacific Standard Time.
Why is that Pacific and the other one isn't Atlantic?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Western Standard. Like, come on. Be consistent. Right. That's branding.
Yeah, right? I don't know. Good point, Dave. Well, we're going to... If you're watching on Twitch, don't forget to rate and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for tuning in after the fact. And again, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, tell us what you think, and do the same for the podcast platforms that you're on, please. It helps us make better stuff. You guys need to understand that's all we want to do for you. And of course, omniversecomics.guide is where you go for all of your podcasts, all of your videos, all of your reviews and reading orders that Dave so lovingly puts together. Check it out, omniversecomics.guide. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We are doing Comics Speakeasy this week.
We are.
Dave, at the Speakeasies, we come with a little beverage to enjoy our midweek chat.
Unbranded beverage.
You got a brew? I got a gin and tonic.
I've got a fruit cider.
Ooh, a fruit cider.
It's summer punch.
Very nice. Comic Speakeasies are a time to just sit back, have a drink, chit-chat about stuff that we like, mostly comics and movies and stuff like that.
Ooh.
And those in the comments, feel free to ask questions this week. This is the best time to do it because we'll be able to all interact and be a part of the conversation. We ready to begin?
We are ready to begin.
Cheers and drink.
Chin chin, Monty.
There you go. All right. So this summer at our Fan Expo, the big guest is Frank Miller.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Fan Expo Canada. So Frank Miller's the big guest that's coming. And of course, at this point, he's like, I don't know if you'd even call him a celebrity because he's a director. He's a movie director, an artist, a writer. Like he's got so many hats that he wears, right? So
he mainly that standard.
Yeah, that one.
Is it a fedora? What is?
Yeah, that his little fedora. But artistically, he wears many different fedoras.
Yes, he wears metaphorical fedoras of many varieties.
So my question to you in regards to Frank Miller is, what do you think he had a bigger impact on as far as a character? Was it Daredevil or Batman? It's easy to answer it, and then you go, wait.
Well, I was going to say Daredevil.
Right. Me too.
It feels like Daredevil because there's so much in there. Whereas with Batman, it was predominantly Dark Knight Returns in year one, right? I mean, was there even anything else? He
returns to it with Dark Knight Strikes Again that has a very mixed reaction.
But in terms of legacy polarizing stuff, the stuff that he did ages ago, it was just because that was Strikes Again came like, when was that? Late 90s? Early mid
somewhere like that. Mm-hmm.
So it's probably, I mean, the thing is, they both had really big impact, but did they impact? I mean, that's a really good question, man.
I'm happy that you're having a think about it. Anyone in the comments, feel free to chime in. But
yeah, chuck in your answers,
because we talk about Frank Miller so frequently in comicdom. It's just an unavoidable. He's an unavoidable creator, right?
He is.
He's got his whether it's independent or whatever.
Well, even
controversial,
if you don't know
involved.
Him, yes,
exactly.
Yeah. Even if you don't know him, you know someone that's influenced by him.
Exactly. You've been affected by his fingerprint in the media,
Could be
unquestionably.
affected by his finger in anything.
uh, but
Clench.
you look at you look at how different Batman became after he worked on the character. It became like they're almost elseworld stories that are treated as canon and respected so much that they've like every writer has to like Frank Miller. Like even when you get to the Batman movie in
Yeah.
'89, right?
Yeah.
You don't get that movie, I don't know, without Killing Joke or like
But
Frank Miller's.
but do you? What about Neil Adams? Because like it was when so the '60s stuff made Batman sillier, and like some of the Silver Age stuff was sillier. But
Yes.
then you had Neil Adams in the '70s who with Denny O'Neil, I think mostly, brought it back to a much darker tone. So it
Yes.
wasn't necessarily Miller that brought it back to that tone, but he obviously
I
kind
think,
of cemented it.
yeah, you're right. That's true because even Steve Englehart's stuff was a much bigger inspiration to the '89 movie than most things. Like
Yeah,
the
that's a point.
love and yeah, there's a lot pulled from his stuff, which is again very short and influential run. But I think it's just that darkness, that almost black and white world that Batman lives in a Frank Miller comic. It's not very bright. I mean, it's
No.
Mazzucchelli artwork, of course, but it's the language, it's the I don't know. There's that grittiness to it. But you're right. Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil had a big influence in bringing it back into the shadows.
They did. Although, what was the? I mean, it seemed. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong as well. Is that this Batman versus Superman motif that most people know? Was there
Yeah.
anything before where they did that? I'm sure they were at odds, even in a golden age silly way. But I mean, it's not something that's memorable. I can't think of anything. But
Not to that. Not that's I think the standard bearer, right? Of the Superman Batman fight. When everybody
yeah,
says Batman beats Superman in a fight, it's always
it's
that
that.
they're referring to,
Yeah, it's Dark
right?
Knight.
He poisoned him with kryptonite and he buried him. It's like, okay, we get it. Frank Miller doesn't like Superman, but
Does he not like him? Is that what it is?
I think that I might be misspeaking or like that's a stretch, but at the time when he wrote the character, oh Batman, I'm saying, and he included him in the Dark Knight, he kind of felt that way about Superman,
Okay.
him being that sort of like government stooge, um, you know, that American standard that I don't think Frank Miller was like, that's the what you call it, the Boy Scout, the farm boy that
Yeah.
sort of like
Yeah. The all
Captain
American
America, right?
hero, the ideal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's just gonna be the president's little bitch. Whereas whereas Batman is like Batman has balls. Batman will take it into his own hands and do the right thing.
He'll take balls into his hands and do what's right, won't he, Dick? The thing
Wow.
that Omega Bread's
Wow.
got a comment here, and funny enough, it was while you were saying about the darkness element to Batman,
Hmm.
and there's that whole so it's that edgier side, it's the grittier side that maybe feels a little bit more grounded in reality, a little bit, as much as any of that can be. You were saying that, and I was thinking, in terms of that, that's like a theme. Whereas with Daredevil, it kind of put him on the map in many ways, because his stories weren't like that before. Omega Bread, Omega Bread, of course. Hello there, dude. Thanks for tuning in like it's a 1950s radio show.
That's right.
He said, if it's strictly comicdom, then I'd say Daredevil. I'd argue that year one was just a fleshing out of material that already existed. Dark Knight Returns is influential, but more so for the medium as a whole, as opposed to just Batman. So
That's
it
a nice
did
point.
add that more adult point, because like between Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, and to a degree Squadron Supreme a little bit, and Mouse as well in terms of the medium and that what you can do with storytelling. It was more of a darker theme that came out of that as a whole, which is kind of why we got what we got in the 90s to some degree, where it got darker and darker. It didn't have to, but like it felt as if that was grown up, whereas actually what it ended up doing, ironically, was becoming less grown up by being ridiculously dark. Then he goes on to say his run on Daredevil still shapes who the character is today, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like the character before, if you've read any pre Miller Daredevil, it's a very different feel. It's a very different feel altogether. So that whole feeling, like in terms of the array of villains as well, and the characters available, a lot of the characters he was fighting were kind of silly. He had the relationship with Black Widow. I mean, he fought Bullseye, but Bullseye fired him out of a giant crossbow. Like, Bullseye wasn't what he was when Frank Miller got hold of him. And was that before? I can't. So yeah, that started off when Roger McKenzie was still writing, but Miller expanded on it to bring this insanity in when Bullseye was seeing Daredevil everywhere. So he kind of started to flesh out the support characters as well. And that, like, when you then go, God, how many years was it? Like 20 years plus down the line? And you had Brian Michael Bendis on it. He did his official tribute to the Miller period, because you can't not. A lot of writers will do that. I need to just acknowledge it because I need to scratch that itch. And then he did his own thing, but his own thing still had that Frank Miller feel, because it was that darker edge. It's heavy on crime. It was a little grimmer, and it felt like anything could happen. And that was what you got from early 80s Daredevil. It felt like anything could happen. You didn't know what was going to happen with Elektra. And ultimately, that should have been the end of the Elektra saga. She shouldn't have come back.
But yeah. I think Omega Bread is got a good take on it.
Yeah.
Especially with the understanding the medium with Dark Knight Returns, how it shaped it. It's just so interesting how both his fingerprints on those characters, whether he wrote them or was drawing it, like you said, the way that they're portrayed in all media now, it's always kind of pulled from what he worked on. Like, how many, I don't know if there was, and if someone does know, it would be great to tell me, but in my mind, in my memory, Carmine Falcone comes from Year One. That's where I think of him existing.
I think so.
Right?
And I think so.
Seeing how many things they've made where Carmine Falcone is a major figure in Gotham throughout the media, it's like, man, on the Gotham TV show, on the Batman Begins, on the new The Batman, and then even in the DC EU universe where Ben Affleck is playing Batman, it's very, very Frank Miller-like. Just his costume and the way his figure is straight from Dark Knight Returns. Like, it's almost like a recreation of that Batman.
Well, even the Fat Bat feels, the logo feels.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Like, it's so clear that they were pulling as much as they could throw into that movie from the Dark Knight Returns.
Falcone was Year One, turns out.
Year One.
I thought it was Long Halloween.
Yeah, and so Jeff Lowe pulls his entire Batman universe is Year One. Like, I just went to where Miller was, and I kind of tried to write the sequels to that.
Yes, yeah,
so
yeah.
If you read Year One and follow it up with Long Halloween, like, that's almost the order of the first couple of Batman years, and then the impact that it even had on Catwoman's character. Just a little bit that it's there, it's just so impactful.
Yeah.
On her throughout all of her books. It's like, that's why I couldn't just easily, I wanted to say Daredevil, because I don't think you get any of that Batman stuff without him doing Daredevil first. And just the television show that you got was like very much very much Bendis and Miller. Like, all the seasonings from their stuff, right? And of course Brubaker's included, but it's hard. What a kind of influence he's had on two really major
That is
IPs.
A good point. I think as a in terms of impact on the medium, what you're saying as well. Yes, I think, like, I mean, even the jump he made from Daredevil to Batman is a mark that had an influence that led to the other thing.
Yeah.
So yes, that's a good point. But yeah, that's a good question, man.
It's just a fun thing to talk about with comic fans, because it makes you kind of go down the road of all the characters that get affected by it, the different people's careers who draw from that well. And it's like, would you have had that run if it wasn't what this guy did to that character, which kind of flipped it. But I think you're right as far as the character shift.
Yeah.
I think Daredevil had more. Like, let's redirect this car.
There was more there as well. It went on for longer.
Yeah.
So there was more
A lot
chance for
longer.
things to happen.
Yeah. But the reverence that people hold of, like, when Frank Miller does Batman, even the All-Star Batman, it's ridiculous. But some people are like, well,
Never read it.
it's different.
Do you like both Year One and The Dark Knight Returns? I know that you like the Daredevil run.
Yeah, I like Year One and Dark Knight Returns.
You do?
I don't know if I like one more than the other, but they're like, what do they call it? The coda. Like, one is the
Yeah, I guess it's the beginning, and one is the front bit with the bumper and the boot. I don't know.
yeah. They kind of look. That's how I position them on my shelf as far as like where they fit in with everything. So it's hard to say. I think that Year One is a much easier book to hand anybody for the first time and say, read this. Tell me that it's not great.
To me, Year One is, especially since now, I wouldn't have said this years ago, but now I kind of see it as a really well done TV show. To people that don't read comics, it's like a really good series that you'd really recommend to someone. Dark Knight Returns, though, I still don't get it. I've read it 4 times and I don't. No,
I love that. That first cover is just
dense.
the best.
But what was the second? Was it the second issue cover where he just looks like a bloke in a skip?
Yeah, I think so.
He just looks like Mr. Burns. He's Bat Burns.
That first cover though is just
It's great.
incredible.
Simple. Perfect.
So simple but perfect. Yeah, it makes you think it's real. Like, oh, that's what it would look like if Batman actually jumped off of a. It always looked like a real photograph to me. I know it's obviously artwork, but as a kid seeing that, not really understanding art yet, it just was such a dynamic figure where I'm like, man, that would be a great look of Batman in a movie if he was real in real life. Like, that would be terrifying.
It would. The second one's quite terrifying. Is it the second or third? I'm sure there's a cover I can't remember. It just looks like Batman
where
melted.
he's like crunched up.
Yeah, I'm surprised that got signed off. It's a terrible cover. Like, there's no. It's a notable cover, but it's a terrible cover. Number 3, I couldn't remember at all. I had to look it up just now, so I couldn't remember what it looked like. But one and 2, I wish he'd kind of silhouetted all of them to make it like a theme.
I see. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, maybe
that series. Yeah,
or it might have taken away. I don't know. I think it might have been better. I think, like, in terms of pacing and storytelling, Year One. Sorry, we've kind of probably stayed on this quite longer than expected. Okay. But Year One, I think, is a masterclass in how comics can be done. Whereas I think Dark Knight Returns, if you emulate it, I think you can only do it well as a parody. Because it's kind of silly and it is kind of sillier. Whereas Year One is so grounded. Dark Knight Returns is just so dark. But it's kind of silly dark to me. I just find it a bit silly.
Okay, moving on. If you had to choose one.
Yeah.
An artist to look at their art the rest of their life. You'll never be able to look at the others, but you'll look at this guy's. Alan Davis or Ivan Reis. Is
this on the wall or in comics?
In comics. You're going to have to choose one artist to read for the rest of your life. Not that only artist, but one you'll never read again, and this one, if you had to pick, who would you pick?
Alan Davis. But I'd miss Ivan.
I love how that's torturing you right now. You feel so bothered to say this, like you're hurting someone's feelings.
Well, yeah, well, they're obviously listening. It's 2 very different people. But
I know how much you like both of them. That's why.
Do. I really, really love them both. And it was really nice when we did the Collector's Item special, the Collector's Item special with Ian Richardson, and he was talking about Ivan Reis. It was so nice because, like, the only time I've had that kind of conversations with yourself, it's almost like he's amazing, but he doesn't always get the props he deserves. But Alan Davis makes me so happy. Like, he just makes me so happy because his stuff is just so light but defined that it almost doesn't make sense. It's still detailed, but it's not, like, aggressively so. It's just the most perfect curves on the planet, and I include myself in that.
Of course you do. But no, I get what you mean, because there's that, whether it's Alan Davis or anybody that you kind of grew up with, that first comic book art that made you feel like excited. As you grow older, it makes you have that warm feeling of like, oh yeah, I remember this. It brings you
like
back.
When you're in the home.
Yeah. It's like that scent. That scent of cookies, it's like, oh, there's the comfort. I remember this. This is a pleasant place that I enjoyed spending time.
But in answer,
Alan,
dude, who would you pick? Who would you pick?
I would probably pick Ivan, because there's more stories that he's written, that he's drawn, that I have read and know that I love. Whereas I know there's a lot of things of Alan Davis I do like, but there's more that I would look forward to reading instead of having already read. Where I think you've got that Excalibur history, and there's a lot that I don't have that. Whereas with Ivan, I got the Green Lantern stuff, the Superman stuff, the Aquaman. Like, there's a lot of things that I would just be like, I want to read that again. Oh no, I have to go with Ivan.
Do you know what actually I'd like to see in terms of Ivan Reis would be the Punisher?
Yeah.
Because of that kind of gritty, semi-gritty realism, but also really clean. Because I think, like, sometimes when you have a really scrappy art on the Punisher, it gives it this kind of dirty feel. But I want to see what's going on.
That's true. Sometimes it's nice to get that Mike Zeck sort of cleanness and very clear, like it's in 4K. Like, I'm really seeing where he works.
I think that would make it almost more upsetting.
Scary. Yeah, it's true. I agree. Okay. Freddie Williams III or J.H. Williams III?
Oh, you are a bastard tonight. What's wrong with you?
I said I was ready.
Oh, I
apologize
ready.
for last week, but we're making it up this week.
Oh, don't do this.
I'm not doing anything. You're gonna do it. You're gonna break hearts all around the world.
I do that anyway. I mean,
yeah, you're used to it.
I'm gonna go with J.H. Williams, and it's a clear win for me, really, when I think about it. But I do love that Freddie Williams stuff, man.
Why don't you show us something that came in the mail for you today? Freddie
well, it's
Williams.
Funny you should mention that. He says, getting incredibly camp. What happened there? So Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles turned up, and I must admit, I was very close to not getting this, and the two things that made me do it were you talking about it and selling it to me in the incoming, so cheers. I'm not a massive Tynion fan. I'm not like anti-Tynion. Anti-Tynion? That sounds so weird. Oh my god, that would have sold it to me straight away if I'd seen the inside. Look at this. Anti-Monitor Krang.
I can't wait.
I'm looking forward to reading this, man. But I mean, it's Freddie Williams art. I was talking a little bit a while ago about on Instagram. About He-Man Thundercats, and a lot of people, when I gave it quite a good review, a lot of people going, "This was shit. Like, what's your problem?" Basically, this is shit. How can you possibly like this? And it didn't matter. The story almost didn't matter to me. It was the pure affection for those 80s properties. I guess this was Thundercats and He-Man together. As far as I know, it hadn't been done before.
I don't think so.
And it was in the He-Man the Master of the Universe Omniverse. So that was when I was kind of going, oh, this isn't as good as I wanted it to be. And then I hit He-Man Thundercats, and I was just in escapist heaven, because it just looked great. It's got this detail to it it feels like when someone doesn't know when to stop shading. But you're going like, you can just stop. You've done it. It's perfect. It's great. It looks good. Just step away. And they go like, no. And they keep going. And then they step away and you go, oh shit, you're all right. Yeah, that looks a lot better. He puts real work in because he knows it needs to be right. That's brilliant. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I don't know how it reads or what it looks like. Or I mean, his storytelling in He-Man Thundercats was fun, and I think it worked. J.H. Williams III is one of the most experimental artists, I think, working in comics today. Like, as a storyteller and writer, he's experimental. But as an artist, I think who else would you put up there? Senkovich?
No.
I can't think
Not
of...
like...
Not to that degree.
The way... for those who would like to hear J.H. Williams on the Omniverse Comics Guide,
Good plug.
Go into our archives, check out the conversation we had with him. He was actually our first or second interview, so that was really great to have him on the show. But the thing is, like, you can look at his artwork and you see that the whole page is a picture, and then he found a way to tell a story within the picture. Like, he's graphically designed it so that it will tell you a story, but also captures an image.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how hard was that? Like, that seems like it was, and he says it was hard. Like, he'll tell you, it took me time.
It's got to.
And it's big shout out to Echoland.
Yes.
Plug. We get nothing for it, but my goodness.
I think
just buy it.
Was that our number 2?
That was our, that was our...
It was your number 1, I think, and it was my number 2,
so.
But it ended up being just the way we did it. It was kind of...
Yeah. It was on the top of our list.
Top of our list, yeah.
But just the production of the book and the detail that goes into every page, it's a feast for the eyes. Like, it really, really makes you appreciate vision. Honestly, it's one of those things in life where you can look and be like, this is a treat to just look at.
Yeah.
And then, there's a story that goes along with it. And if the story is good, but if it is or isn't, it doesn't matter, because it's just like the pictures are phenomenal.
Yeah.
It sounds so silly to say that, but he says, like, it takes me this long. It took me 2 weeks to do that page.
Oh my God.
Like,
well, because some of them as well, they're double, the whole thing is it's in landscape, isn't it?
It's landscape. That's
so
right.
A lot of them are double-page landscape spreads, which is just a colossal amount of work. And to lay out a page, when you think, I mean, I've done it a bit. I've drawn a tiny bit of comics, and it was for work, but it wasn't like on a scale. It's that, the graphic designer method where you're this for a week and you're that for a week.
Yeah.
And,
right.
You're a fraud as a graphic designer. But this is what he does all the time, and he hasn't just like perfected his art; he's still perfecting his art. But it's better than most people that I can think of, and I don't think he gets in half enough credit for what he does. But Echolands there's a great story in there, and even though it's like, so it's got an element of that. People who've read Watchmen will be familiar with the idea of having that extra bit of story that comes at the end of each issue. He does a similar thing, but it's like a magazine feature for the place they're in, so it's kind of riddled with adverts and an interview and a little propaganda for the place it's all set in. And then there's still that ongoing thread, and it's very familiar, but then it's also a tribute to so many different art styles and genres in comics, and it's laid out in the way that it's laid out. And there's the story that it's the kind of stories it's referencing. They're all spot on in terms of how those stories are told and how they look. Like when they go to the Bernie Wrightson inspired horror area, it looks like Bernie Wrightson's art. It's a part of the other art stuff. They're all in there.
It's all like, it's such a visual treat. Like, I don't know what other cliched way to say it. His Batwoman is phenomenal. Like, really great run. So
I've seen it. I need to read it.
Yeah, like
I've read some of it.
I thought it was so hilarious that there's 2 artists out there, phenomenal artists, that are extremely unique. Like, as soon as you see it, you know it's them, and they're both Williams III. Like, what are the chances that you got Freddie Williams III, J.H. Williams III?
Oh, no,
why not?
Freddie Williams is the second, so he's
the second.
He's not got as many points as.
There you go. So
as J.H. Williams, he's losing. That's why he's losing.
There you go.
It's 3-2 to J.H. We do have a comment.
Good. Oh, there you go.
Omega Bread says, Andrea Sorrentino is the only one that springs to mind regarding experimental art.
Oh yeah, she's good.
So that's
Unless
he said his.
yeah,
I think
that
it's.
could be a guy.
I think it's a he. Because he
Could
said
be a guy.
his panel work in Gideon Falls, which I've only read some of, is so trippy. But I still give the edge to J.H. Williams because it's cleaner and amazingly detailed, and it is like insanely detailed. And you are interpreting it, but if you don't want to interpret it, it's still clear as to what you're looking at. If that makes any sense.
It does. It does. Yeah, I just realized Andrea. That's a guy's name in Italian, right? And I was thinking it was Andrea.
Italian.
Yeah, Sorrentino.
Well, you never quite know, do you? Though.
No, you never know. This next question. This next question is a shout out to BC Scrubs, who's always shouting us out and sending us lots of love every week. So thank you,
He's
Ben,
such
for
a
doing that. He is. So this is a question I dedicate to him, but I'm asking you. If you had to hear me retell a story, would you rather have me talk about why Do a Power Bomb is a hidden gem or the time that I didn't buy Strangers in Paradise from Terry Moore? Which story would you want to hear again? He's always breaking my balls about how many times I told that story. And I'm like, did I really tell it that many times?
What was it? It was like, he said this week, I did the question on Instagram. It was like, best mystery is like how Eric decided that Do a Power Bomb is a hidden gem. That's my biggest mystery.
Right, okay. I just wanted to talk about it because I had just read it.
I was like, it wasn't
That's
me.
the truth.
It wasn't
That's
me.
the truth. I just wanted to talk about it because I just read it and I loved it so much. And I'm like, everyone should go read this book. Could it be a hidden gem? It's an Image comic. It's a hidden gem. Yeah, and then I immediately regretted it with all the other top 10s we were doing.
That's
like,
cool.
damn, that would have been better for this one.
You'll get to do it again at the end of the year, like we say, so don't worry. I think, well, with that in mind, the Terry Moore story, then I think because we're gonna hear Do a Power Bomb again.
Yeah, all right. That's an easy one.
And I put my hand up and asked for a wee break. Oh, it's BC Scrubs now. So it seems like I came in just the right time.
Yes, you did. You need to take a break? Go for it.
I need to take a break. Before I do, I just want to say, dude, thank you so much for all the shout outs that you've been giving us on Instagram. It's so sweet. It makes my day every morning when I wake up. And he's giving us a shout out. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, thank you so much. We do appreciate it. It does make a difference because sometimes you do this stuff and you're like, I wonder if anyone's listening.
Yeah,
and then you find out
like a vacuum.
It's fun. Thank you, everybody, for your support. We appreciate it. Dave, go for your break.
Got to have a tinkle.
I'll talk to you guys in the meanwhile. Dave, welcome back.
Hi, sorry about that. Thank you for letting me go, sir. Thank you. You can have my whole pass back.
No problem. I was just talking to the Twitch viewers right now and letting them know what's in store next week.
Nice.
Next episode. Nice. I spoiled that. I said I can do it. Dave's not here. He can't stop me.
I didn't even know. So.
Oh no. Oh okay. I guess that's what it's going to be. Yeah. I mean, we kind of talked about it, but the schedule got thrown off. But we'll talk about it.
We'll jump back on that train. So at the minute, just so you're aware, it might seem like there's not a huge amount of updates on the Omniverse Comics Guide at the minute. We are adding some new features. So if you subscribe to the Omniverse, which thank you very much. If you do, it's lovely. We do have some subscribers, and it's just really appreciated. But there is some new stuff coming specifically for subscribers. I won't say what that is until it launches, but it's coming very, very, very soon. Misha's and Molasses are off on holiday soon, and Misha does all the updates to the website. So while I'm going to be working on some stuff, she won't be here for a little bit to actually put it on the website from like next Friday. So we're going to try and get some bits on before she goes, and then the site might seem a bit quiet for a week, and then we'll start getting some more new stuff on. So while she's gone, I'm going to work my arse off and get some more reading orders on there. If you jump on at the minute, today we added a very short Pepe Larraz interview from Portsmouth Comic Con, which was actually recorded in May, but he's talking about a lot of the stuff that's happening now, including Big Game with Mark Miller, which is set in the Miller World universe, I guess now it is, with Wanted, Kick-Ass, Nemesis, all those in one book. in one mini series, which I'm actually really excited to read because like even though I haven't read all of those, like I've read most of them. It's like Huck is in there as well, and I'm really keen to read it. And I do love Pepe Larraz. So I was watching him draw Sabretooth while we were there, and I follow him on Instagram. I may not read a lot of modern Marvel, but like, oh, my stuff is beautiful. And he's just a really nice guy. So we had a good little chat. Didn't want to take him away from his work, so it's filmed with a window behind us, and like, so
That's okay.
it's a bit awkward, but it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. I know you're not a big comic adaptation to TV or film kind of guy, but if they made an X-Men show, which I feel it shouldn't be in a movie. I feel the X-Men story is best told episodically, just because of the soap opera aspect to it.
Yeah.
But if they made a show, which characters would you want on the team? And do you have any actors you think would be well suited for it? Like, do you have a
Casting calls? Jeez. All right.
Well, you don't have to cast them, but is there like as far as the team, like cast the team that you think would be the interesting X-Men to follow?
I've got a very simple 2-word answer for you.
Talk to me.
Fuck you. No, it's not that. It's X Factor investigations. You're right. I thought you were pleasuring someone off to the side there.
I was about to do a spit take, and I was
That's
just
the
holding
same
it
thing.
in. Yeah. Oh man. Between you and Omega Bread, nothing's gonna get by.
I blame the booze.
Okay.
X Factor investigations. I mean, it's made for TV. I think like, if you took some bits out, like the Civil War bit, and tweaked it a bit, so you can't have Spider-Man in it. Anything that's got, well, not anything that's got. It's all fair game at this point, really, isn't it? Because there's like the Invisible Woman is missing storyline. Is it Invisible Woman is missing? It's something like that. They could do that at this point, you know. It's pretty much there, but like, it wouldn't be as expensive to make as a blockbuster X-Men series because it's more grounded, and I think I prefer more grounded. Although, did you watch Secret Invasion?
Not yet. I watched the first episode, and I'm gonna binge all of it, like on the weekend.
Okay.
I just waited for it to finish.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
That was awful. It looked like a student film, where people had given them too much money to play with, or one of them's like got a loaded dad, and
That's how I felt about Quantumania, actually.
really,
Yeah, I know some people enjoyed it, and there's people they just love the movies. They don't care. Like,
no. Well, fair enough. If they make you happy, that's
Yeah.
lovely. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing with Secret Invasion though, it felt like there was, even though it's never going to be a direct interpretation, there are so many things where you go like, oh, they could do this or this or this or this with this, and then they go, we're just gonna just not bother. You're like, come on, give us something. And the villain in it, I just don't like him. I just don't. I don't get it. He's like, I know. I like the idea of having someone that plays things a little bit differently, but he's so nonchalant that you kind of feel like, what's the point? You you don't even seem to be bothered by this whole thing. So why should I be?
I mean, I'll admit I got excited when you get to certain parts of the Marvel universe in the movies where you're like, ooh, they're showing the Kree. Now we're gonna see Skrulls, and they're going there. They're doing it. We might see some really cool stuff. Like, it could get trippy. We could get experimental, and then all signs point to, yep, we're gonna do Kang, and we're gonna do the Skrulls, and we're gonna, Secret Invasion, and you're just like, ooh, they've got all these different pieces that are ready to be played, and you're just like, that's what you did with it. And there's so many apologists, it feels like, who are like, incredible, fantastic, best Marvel movie since then, and just like, what did you watch? I don't understand. Like, I just feel for me it was after No Way Home, where I was just like, nothing else, everything else kind of felt like, where are we going? What's happening here? There's great ideas. I'm really excited for the fact that we have a Moon Knight TV show with how good some of the stuff have been, and then you're just kind of like, not that I didn't like Moon Knight, I did actually enjoy that, but there's other stuff where you're just, why did you bother? Why did you do the Jason Aaron Thor and do it like that? Like, why did you do that?
Yeah. I don't really get it, and it does seem like, I don't know, it just feels like a lot of waste opportunities, and I don't want to get into a whole whinging about the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, but what have there been, like 2 things I've been excited about for this year? One was Guardians, which was okay.
Oh, you did see it?
Yeah, we did a review on it, dude.
We
We did a review episode. Go have a look at that on
yes.
YouTube. Hey, plugs, butt plugs. But Secret Invasion was one I was looking forward to because it was largely powerless characters, you know. And I thought, okay, we can have some interesting stuff happen here. But it looks like a cheap BBC drama, but it's been written by ITV writers. So if you're in this country, that will make more sense. But it's like, you don't watch ITV because it's just the shit that people who can't be bothered to change the channel will happily sit there and watch. You know?
Right.
So it looked a bit more polished than that bit, but it's just bad dialogue, and it's badly edited, and it's badly written, and it's badly shot. We stopped watching it.
You couldn't finish it.
I don't want to waste time on it. We've gone back to watching Critical Role.
Watch what you like. Speaking of things that you could watch on that same platform, there's a show called The Bear, which is excellent. Shout out!
Really good things about that.
It's excellent.
It's on series 2.
Yeah, I think you would actually really enjoy it because from what you've described, you like those like dialogue, smart dialogue in between characters, and seeing that sort of like not polished, a little bit more gritty people. Like going on a tangent about a completely different subject, but with that show, it's like these could be real people. They don't seem like actors. Like they're not wearing makeup. They're not ugly, but they're not beautiful.
They're not standard Hollywood.
No, exactly. Like everybody's kind of showing who they are as far as physically it goes. It's like everyone's just going to work in a kitchen. Really, really interesting show.
Who's in it? I'm going to let IMDb it.
You want to know what? I couldn't name anybody.
I think that's great.
I should be able to,
but
I don't. Just because I watched both seasons, so just in the credits, I should be able to name somebody. But
in theory, but when it's new people, you don't always necessarily remember the big, the ins and outs. But like, I don't recognize any of those names. There was a point in time where I would look at Oliver Platt's in it, whereas I look at people's names and go,
Oliver Platt
I don't know anyone in there. It's probably not worth watching.
John Barenthal is a character that shows up in flashbacks.
John, that name's familiar.
Punisher. The Punisher from the Netflix series.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So
I couldn't think.
It's not a spoiler. It's actually it's the premise of the show. It's a top chef in the world. His brother owns a sandwich shop in Chicago.
Yeah.
And he commits suicide, and he leaves his brother his restaurant. So he comes back home from being like a top chef globally, and tries to save his brother's legacy, but it's in bad shape. And here you got this 3-star chef. I'm not exactly sure the rating, 5-star, 3-star, but this renowned chef having to go make sandwiches and figuring out a way to freshen the place up and make it turn a profit and see what happens. And there's one episode where I loved it so much because it was just the kitchen staff prepping for opening. We open in 22 minutes, and like that's the episode. 15 minutes opening, and you're just interacting in the kitchen, and you just see how they get ready to start the day, like behind, corner, like, and if something goes wrong, it's like, you didn't say that thing, like that, you really realize how the stress of the kitchen can become when it could be a good problem, but sometimes a good problem in the kitchen, meaning like we got a lot of orders, but we're not ready to do that. So it's like, this is a good problem, but we could be completely screwed.
Have you seen Chef?
Yes.
The film?
Love Chef.
It's so good, isn't it? It's kind of, that sounds like it's got kind of similar vibes.
It's got similar vibes. If you liked Chef, you would really like this.
Yeah, I loved it. Oh, cool. That's cool. That sold it to me.
And it's like, whoa, was that acting? That was real. That's what it feels like.
All
because it's
right.
just so intense.
I've got to fucking watch this.
Yeah, I
Where
hope
am
you
I
like it.
making a
It's
note?
really good.
I'm just desperate for something that I can sink my teeth into, because it feels like at the moment, everything is just. It feels like nothing's trying anymore. You know, in terms of like even blockbuster films that would still try, it's all just so disposable. Everything feels very disposable. Or it's tapping into
Yeah.
a brand, a pre-existing brand. And it will go like, here's a universe thing.
Yeah,
You'll like it because it's the thing you know.
and the way they try to update it just makes you go like, why didn't you just make something new?
Yeah. And it feels
Like,
like
why
there
don't
isn't a lot that's new. But then people aren't talking about the things that are new, because not everyone wants to
right.
make sure they're watching the thing that everyone else is watching.
The Bear, highest recommendation if you
Okay.
like just smart, and it's not a super commitment because the episodes are half hour.
Are they only half an hour?
Yeah, so
You don't get that
you're
much
not
anymore.
no, you don't have to sit there and be like, let me get through the first two episodes. Like you'll get through the first two episodes pretty quick and you'll be like, okay, I'm in.
All right.
Highest recommendation.
All right. Brilliant. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
No problem.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Here's a question then.
Yes.
I have an answer, so it's loaded.
Yes.
I'm pre-prepared.
Of course. That's okay.
But in terms of the comic translation films, what would you say is the number one best casting from any of those comic based films?
That's a difficult question because there's just so much to choose from now.
Yeah.
The best cat. So like we're going across everything.
Anything. It might not be Marvel or DC. It might just be
yeah.
anything.
I mean, you'd be hard pressed to pick a better Superman than Christopher Reeve. That's so iconic, right? It's just embedded in our mental zeitgeist. But Chris Hemsworth as Thor is pretty good. It's a pretty good Thor. I don't know. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury from the
he's done
Ultimate
that
Universe is like that's pretty good too.
Yeah, he's done that well.
They drew it like Samuel L. Jackson. Like you had to cast him for the role.
You had to.
Yeah. What is it for you?
If I'd been asked that question without prep time, 'cause obviously it's something that's been on my mind, I would have said Chris Evans as Cap, because he is Captain America to me, and I'm very specific about Captain America. But my actual, what were you going to say him?
I was thinking of him, but it's also because of how much those movies have grown on me. Like it's rare that a sequel makes me like the first part more than I originally did, and I feel Winter Soldier makes me really like First Avenger more than I initially did, because it just complements itself so well. I'm like, oh, I see where that movie was going. Instead of it just having a tone and a feel to be like World War II sort of pastiche, no, there's a tone. Sorry, there's a tone to it, and it's like they complement each other so well, those three. But who would be your person?
Mine would be, actually, before I say, Omega Bread has just said Patrick Stewart, so I'm trying to figure out who he means.
That's good.
I'm assuming it's Professor X, but like,
yes,
that is a good point. That didn't cross my mind at all. But yes, he is. That's a defining.
Yes,
because even after that, you do hear. Well, I do. I hear Patrick Stewart's voice when I read Professor X, so that's great casting. For me, it's Amanda Waller. I think the way
Viola Davis.
Yes, I think that is perfect casting.
I think you're right.
I think you and Omega Bread.
No. They had Angela Bassett.
Did they?
In the Green Lantern movie? Very, very quickly. If I'm not mistaken.
As Amanda Waller?
As Amanda Waller. Very quickly, though.
I haven't finished that film. I've only ever made it through 15 minutes, like four times.
She would have made a good Amanda Waller as well. She's a great actress. She can be very stern. Have you seen her in the Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, or Fallout?
I've never seen a Mission Impossible film.
Oh, that's a lot of stupid fun. Oh, man.
Are they worth a watch?
If you're willing to just have fun, it's incredible. Even knowing that guy attempted that stunt, like that's him. That's him hanging
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Just for that alone makes you watch it and say, what's he thinking? And it's just impressive that they tried it, because it's like a James Bond, or even, when you watch Lethal Weapon, it's just action scene,
Yeah.
scene.
So
Action
I like
scene.
Lethal Weapon 2. I love Lethal Weapon 2. Diplomatic immunity. The rest of them I couldn't name. I've only ever seen 2 or 3 James Bond films, and I just don't like it, which
Did
is
you
so
watch
un-British.
Did you watch any of the Daniel Craig ones?
Yeah, I got up and walked out and forgot I was watching it. I was bored. I have a very short attention span, admittedly, but for the most part, I'll sit and watch a film unless I really object.
Casino Royale is one of those movies for me. I can go back and watch it a bunch of times.
That's the one I walked out of.
Really?
Well, it was in a living room. It wasn't in like a cinema.
But I see.
It was in someone's house, and we were all there to watch it. And I kind of got up, and I thought, I'm just going to have a snout. So I thought I need to do something because I'm bored. And then I started doing something in the kitchen, and I just kind of went like, I'm just going to go and have a snout. And I went outside, and I'm like, I'll just text some people. And then I walked back in and went, oh yeah, I was supposed to be watching this. I forgot. I was just so not into it.
That's one that's like, I have the urge to watch it now.
Yeah?
It's a good one. It's really good. Yeah, it's a good one. It changed the game. It's one of those movies like The Bournes where the pacing of the action sequences and the way everything is shot, it's like you can see where action movies kind of went to because of that grittiness and very real sort of. It's ridiculous, but you know that somebody really did those stunts at the same time.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, where you're just impressed by, like, man,
That's
the ability to get that shot.
In some things that works for me, but in other things I'm just like, I don't care. And I don't even know what the tipping point is. James Bond has never done it for me.
Speaking of movies, what's your best movie going experience you've ever had? Can you think of a film like when you walked out, you're like, man, that was great?
I don't know if I've walked out. Weirdly, the experience wasn't walking out thinking, man, that was great. But I walked out of Donnie Darko and just went, I don't know what I don't know what I just experienced. And it had this.
I haven't watched that movie.
It's really difficult because, like, it's really, I don't know. It's a very hard thing to recommend because I think it's like it's only going to work with certain people. But when I walked out of it, like, it upset me, and I wanted to watch it again straight away, and it ended up having weirdly prophetic vibes, but I can't even begin to explain why. But it's like it's stuck with me. I can't actually watch it anymore because it hits too close. But even though it shouldn't, because it's about a guy that sees the future, and then because a rabbit tells from the future tells him the world's going to end. It's like, I've never experienced that. But there are some core bits in it that are just like, I don't know. It's very hard to explain. But when I saw the film, I became obsessed with it, very heavily obsessed with that film. And it's the first time I watched the director's commentary for anything. Because I just had to know more. I had to know more. And it's funny because, like, the theatrical version wasn't what was intended. So the soundtrack wasn't the intended soundtrack, and there were some bits in there that were supposed to be in there, like, that were answering it a bit more. And he couldn't do it. So he ended up taking them out. And then they released the director's cut, and I watched it, and I've said to everyone, just don't watch the director's cut. It's just, it tries to do too much. It tries to explain too much. It doesn't work. But I was massively obsessed with that film. But I think sometimes I like to go and see something that makes me feel uncomfortable or ill at ease, then come out and go, oh man, that was exciting, because I don't generally feel excited.
Except when you read
British.
your comics.
Except when I read my comics. Depends what I'm reading. Should we do one more question tonight before we head off? Let's do one more question.
All right. I guess that's not that's a question.
Nice.
What book are you most excited to arrive in the mail in the next half of the year, or the next quarter of the year at this point?
There's one book, when it was announced, I lost my shit. And it was Kaiju Max Deluxe Edition Volume 3. that ends the Kaiju Max story. Nothing comes close. Nothing on this earth comes close. We can find out we're going to have another. Actually, that wouldn't make me excited at all. What's something that would make me excited? Nothing comes close to Kaiju Max. I love it so much, like that's so cool. Much. And when it was supposed to be released, God, like 6 months ago or so, I think. And there was a print error, so it was pushed back. And it was like, when's this thing happening? I'm desperate to finish this thing, and it's already come out in trade paperbacks, but it's the third volume of the deluxe editions. Those deluxe editions are something so gorgeous. They've got like a toothy motif down the side of the pages, and they're beautifully produced. They're really tall. They're bigger than a I haven't got them here anymore.
They're like library edition, right?
They're bigger.
Okay, almost like Absolute.
Bigger.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're big. But I can't explain what's so good about Kaiju Max, because it makes no sense. If someone said to me, this is what it's about, I remember actually the first time I did read what it was about and went, that sounds fun. And I read the first 6 issues and went, yeah. And then something was bugging me, and I went like, okay, I'm going to go and get the deluxe edition, because they announced it. I'll get the deluxe edition, and I read 12 issues instead, and then went like, oh, this is the greatest series I've read in.
I've only heard good things. Forever. I got to give it a try.
It's very well thought out, and it's just so disarming and weirdly charming and disturbing, and I love it. And when that was announced, I think it's due out in December, unless it's pushed back again. That was it. My whole life is building to December now. That's how much I love Kaiju Max.
That's so much fun to have something to look forward to that much. That's really cool.
Well, that's the bit that's always stuck with me, is when we first had that chat 2.5 years ago, I think, when I came on Cave of Solitude the first time, and you said that that's the thing with comics, it's like something to look forward to. I'd never heard it put that way before.
Yeah, shout out to my wife. She's the one who shared that with me. She was like, oh, that's why you always are able to, like, you always have something to look forward to. It's like, that's it. Like, that's it.
The perfect summary of what comics is and how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm desperate looking forward to that. So thank you, Daff, for figuring that out.
Yeah, you made it make sense to us.
Yeah.
Our crazy obsession of doing this thing. All right. That's
how about
a nice way to... there's been a lot of things that have been coming through that I've been really excited about, and I'm thinking, is there anything left this year? I'm looking forward to getting that Ninja Turtles Batman. It's supposed to be here today, but there was a little problem when I ordered it in 2021. That's how long ago I pre-ordered it.
That's what.
So my credit card changed.
Oh crap!
So they're like, we got a problem with your payment, and I'm like, no, you don't. Just send it. And it's like, man, how long ago did I order this thing? Alpha Flight is coming. That's really exciting. We talked about the Green Lantern Corps omnibus from Tomasi. That's really exciting.
Soon.
Really soon, yeah. Those are all in August.
I mean, there is some really cool stuff coming out this year, and that's the thing with, like, to have a definitive answer is tough, because like some of this stuff we've wanted for ages, and we've talked about the odds of them releasing it.
I had a question. Superior Spider-Man has Volume 1 on the spine.
Yeah.
What's Volume 2 supposed to be?
My theory is that Volume 2... My theory is that Volume 2 will include the following issues. So it will probably be Superior Spider-Man Team Up. It might be the newer Superior Spider-Man stuff, because they knew they were going to announce it. But I'm hoping, if they're not going to companion it, it'll be Superior Spider-Man Team Up, the latter issues of Avenging Spider-Man. There were the those Point AU issues, the Ultron tie-in. What was that story called? Age of Ultron, of course. Issues that weren't included in the omnibus. It was issue 5.AU or something like that, I think. So there are a few minis and other bits that they could have collected in this Omni, but I think they were right not to. I think it makes sense to read that as a standalone.
Yeah.
Because there's Superior Foes of Spider-Man as an omnibus as well, which does relate, and occasionally he's in it, but you don't need to read it. But you should read it because it's fun.
It's so good. It's really
good fun. So yeah, I'm hoping it'll be the additional tie-in issues. I think Superior Spider-Man Team Up ran for a fair number of issues as well. It's almost a year, or around about a year.
To your point, give me a companion. Give me a compendium.
Companions of the Beast. Dude, did you see? I sent you those things, right, with the announcements of what was coming out from DC.
Yeah. Some interesting stuff there.
Some very interesting stuff, and I like the mix of companions and omnis as well. That's in there.
Next week, what I announced to the friends that are watching is the creator spotlight, Jeff Johns.
Ooh, yes, we did talk about that, didn't we?
That's right. So I've been trying to read up on some stuff that I haven't read in a while or haven't read at all, because I do have my blind spots, but I'll be interested to see what we come up with here.
Yeah, I think we'll have a mix.
I know there's some stuff that you've got a real soft spot for, so I'm gonna just let me just back off and let Dave wax rhapsodic on it.
No, we'll fight over it in the car park.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in on the Twitch, and for those that are watching on YouTube and whatnot, or listening on podcast platforms, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully you had a good time and we had some fun questions that you were talking back at us. If you understood what we were talking about, you were most likely talking back to us like, no, it's like this. That's all. That's what we do this for, right? For the community, having some fun. Don't forget to rate and review us, subscribe, and be sure to visit omniversecomics.guide for all the goodness. It's all there, folks.
If you do want to support us on there, that's brilliant. It's not a massive expectation, but yes, there will be some new stuff, and there will also be some very exclusive content that's coming up as well for subscribers, so keep them peeled.
Sweet. My friend, always good to see you, always good to hang out.
Likewise,
everybody, man. Until next time, we'll be back. Same Omniverse time.
Same Omniverse channel.